EA's most recent title update contained a patch note that literally nobody is talking about in the social space in Madden 23. However, this is one of the most impactful changes we've seen mid-cycle in a Madden ever, and it honestly ranks up against the patch that took it away to begin with. What is up, guys? Zan from the Madden YouTube channel, and in the most recent title update, EA put in a patch note that not a lot of players paid attention to, and that's because these routes, for some reason or another, are kind of frowned upon competitively. I think that this is the most balanced that these routes, drumroll please, check and release routes, have ever been in Madden. If you're enjoying this video, can you do me a quick favor? Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, the like button, and take a quick second to drop a comment or an emoji or something to help push this video in the YouTube algorithm. It'll reach other Madden players just like you looking for Madden tips and tutorial content, and it helps me out with the channel's growth. Greatly appreciate it. Now back into the video. So as you guys recall, several years ago, we used to have complete control over delay routes where we could leave a tight end in for 6, 7 to 8 seconds, run around with our quarterback, press the icon to release him over the middle of the field, and he'd be wide open. As a result, EA put in a patch that basically made these routes auto-release, rendering them useless and ushering in a more aggressive blitz meta because they wouldn't block anybody. As a result, we started off this year's game with that same check and release logic, but with this being a heavier cover zero blitz year, these are actually pretty valuable, and it's something that you'll definitely want to utilize when your opponent is running a cover zero blitz. So let's go ahead and get into it and kind of break down why is it that these routes are so valuable. So let's start off with maybe just Overstorm. And in fact, I'm going to show you some game footage as well here in this video here today. But let's start off with maybe just a simple bench concept. And let's say that for this particular play, our opponent is likely going to be using the player that is associated with the running back. That's what most players tend to do. So they'll be lurking here in the middle of the field. Now, most players, when they play in a cover zero defense, they are going to check and make sure that the running back doesn't run a quick route. So as we know, a lot of players really like to throw these quick throws to the running back, and we snap the ball and throw the ball out wide. These can be pretty dangerous. So what most players will typically do when they're playing cover zero is they're going to check the running back's release right away. So when it comes to something like this, they're going to clear that the running back actually is staying in the block. So if we utilize the running back's check and release, which could be a stock check and release or a hot routed one, the hot routed one is a check and release to the flat. And if you guys have the hot route master or a running back apprentice, they'll have the check and release curl, which is very similar to the one that you see here stock on this play. But what's really interesting about this is that typically speaking, most players will end up trying to user basically the middle of the field with this. So let's go ahead and mimic this. I'll man up the nickel corner on the tight end, and I'll take this safety and I'll have him on the running back. And what they'll typically do is they'll just drop, deep into the middle of the field to cover posts or crossers or slants or run off to the corner route. And what's really, really cool about this is that if you guys can put in a protection that will allow you to pick up the blitz, this can be really, really good for you, because what ends up occurring is basically that user forgets about the running back blocks his assignment and then releases over the middle of the field. Now, provided you have to make sure that your other linemen do their job, this is going to be something that can be really dangerous for them. So as it pertains, something like this, where they are going to be, manned up on the running back, you would anticipate them vacating and ending up running somewhere else. So, maybe they want to go guard the corner route over to the left. So I'll mimic that when they see that the running back is staying in the block. But we actually use a check and release, and we're going to go ahead and, set up our route combo to maybe flood to, the left side of the field. And then we have something that just kind of releases out late. You see right here, running back kind of runs his route. We can get that ball out provided you don't take it under pressure. Now, one thing I would definitely recommend if you're going to run a lot of these is probably the fearless ability. That can help you out significantly. But what this ultimately is going to come down to is having a full understanding of who the user is on the play. It might not just be a running back situation. In fact, you could find if they're using somebody that's on the tight end, there's a good chance that you could use the tight end's route as well in certain formations to kind of take advantage of the fact that maybe the user gets over aggressive over to, the right side of the field. They're going to check to see that the tight end actually blocks, but we could put him on a check and release to the flat and then maybe run maybe a route combo that attacks the right side of the field, right? We can set up this kind of max protect, ball snapped, they go user over here, and then that running back helps out. We dump the ball into the flat and we can go off to the races. Now, this is a tactic that I will be updating with more advanced setups in my single back bunch X nasty game plan. If you guys want to check out how I am utilizing this, head over to gridirongameplans.gg. $9.95 unlocks the entire website. That's 5 full offensive and defensive game plans already since the game came out, and over 75 vault videos with access to a private Discord server where you can chat with other Discord members about the game plans, the vault content, or anything in Madden you guys might need help with. And that includes our lab sessions every single Wednesday. Head over to gridirongameplans.gg. Now back to the video. So you can utilize these with the running back or the tight end. Again, I do think that probably your best bet is going to be the tight end, simply because when the running back lets a check and release player go, they're more likely to be releasing a player right on top of your quarterback, which is going to get you an under pressure penalty, kind of like what we saw earlier in the video. Whereas with these tight end routes, they are releasing a rusher further away. So you see right here, this guy just gets a little chip, which is just long enough for the player that would be the user, which would be this player right here, to run off and go cover something else. Again, they're just going to look and say, oh, my guy's blocking, I'm going to run off, guard the corner route or the slant. And then our guy ends up releasing after a chip wide open into the flat. We can throw this out there for a nice gain. I would say, give or take, the timer on this is about 2.5 to 3 seconds in terms of how long it takes a player to release on these routes. Now what we're going to do is take you into some game footage from a game that I was playing just yesterday, where I was able to seal a win with this particular concept. So here we are with some game tape. This is an all Madden Seasons game I was playing. My opponent actually ran the meta pretty much what we were showing you here in this video. This is an Overstorm Brave player, a lot of cover zero, using the player that is associated with the running back. Now, in this particular situation, I know that with Overstorm Brave, we have 3 defenders in man coverage on the right. We have the outside corner, the slot corner, and the right safety. I know that all of those guys are manned up on the 3 bunch receivers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm keying in on the fact that he has Charles Woodson as his user on the left side, manned up on the running back. I want to actually put the running back on a real blocking assignment on this, if possible, and utilize a tight end delay fade. So what I do is I motion across my tight end to make it so that way Woodson has to be manned up on the tight end. So I do this motion, and you can tell right away this did not make my opponent comfortable. He switches off of his user, and now all of a sudden he's on Cromwell. Well, because I motioned the tight end across the formation, I know that Woodson is now on Shockey, which means that on the right side of the field, you have the outside corner and the slot corner both manned up on my 2 receivers on the right. And Cromwell, if this is a zero blitz, has to be manned up on my running back. So what I do is I then decide to set up a route combo out of my X nasty offense, where I use the running back, and you saw right there, on a check and release. So what this all is it's window dressing. I've got a corner route that I have no intent of throwing. I've got a post route that maybe I would throw if the user hangs out too low underneath. I've got a slant over the middle. I've got an out route. Everybody on the field has a route ability dedicated to beating man-to-man coverage. But really what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if I can get his user to basically run and guard something else. And what we do is we snap the ball right here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The running back picks up the edge rusher. And immediately you see that his user says, okay, I'm going to go lurk on this slant. I'm going to go help out on something else here. He turns around, runs back, and now the running back releases out into the flat, wide open, and we pick up basically a game-sealing first down. We were up 8, but he couldn't afford to give up a field goal. I don't even know why he was still in the game at that point. But this is something that you can utilize against any zero blitz in the game, as long as you know who the user is responsible for on a given play. So now let's go ahead and run maybe 4-3 even 6-1, or a mid blitz style where somebody might be being pretty aggressive with you. And we'll show that this is something you could do in shotgun as well. So let's call a shotgun formation. Maybe we go tight slots. This is actually a great formation to do this out of, because there's a lot of plays that have these stock, just for the record. So take, for instance, a play like corner stop. Has 3 of them. You could really just come out in this play and key in on who the user is. So if they want to baseline, press, mug down. Okay, if they're usering, say, Van Der Esch. He's on the running back. So now what I could do is I could go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to block. Let's block Goddard. Maybe we slant Watkins. Maybe, you know, if you have a route apprentice, you would use different routes to be, you know, just get some action going over to the left side of the screen where I want the user to kind of bail and cover and help out. So then what we're going to do is we are going to take advantage of that user doing that. And we are going to essentially now be able to, hopefully this doesn't cause like a crazy nano blitz here, but we should be able to hold up just long enough where this running back can then dump out and release late. Now you saw right there, again, this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you do this with a running back, you know, you're gonna have players right on top of you. But again, keying in and understanding the roles of the players. Let's say, for instance, that my opponent is using Wilson on this play. Well, again, we've already got a check and release. Let's say we want to use a fade. I mean, these are right back in a good spot again for us. Let's say that they're using a fade and we wanted to throw, maybe like pretend we have a slot apprentice for a corner route, maybe run a slant, everything flooding over to the right side of the field, right? What we would basically mimic is when this ball snapped, he sees the tight end stay in a block, and now this tight end releases down the seam, and the user bailed on his assignment because he saw initially that the tight end stayed in and blocked, just long enough to free him up. Now, also keep in mind that tight ends have 3 of these. So if you have a tight end in your formation, you've got a delay fade, which runs straight down the field after about 2 seconds. You got delay flat, which is going to release into the flat, and you have a delay drag, which is going to break over the middle. This is key because you can basically toy with a user. After the first time, they might think, okay, well, I'm going to play. I know that he wants to run a delay fade, so I'm going to basically hang out up here on the inside. And they might go ahead and, again, keying on Wilson as this potential quote unquote user. If you know that they're basically hanging out over the top of the delay fade, well, who's to say you can't go ahead and delay flat them? Now you're in a situation where maybe you snap this ball, you pick up your pressure, now the guy releases out to the flat, and that user's been sagging on what they thought was going to be a delay fade, and you pick up 30 just as easily. So again, with this cover 0 meta, this is something that is so simple to attack now, with the ability for us to rely on our check and releases to stay in. Again, I know the running backs don't show nearly as well in this. Again, that's just the way the game plays with the under pressure penalties. But the tight ends in particular are so good at this, so good at this. Honestly, if you guys have a shotgun set where the running back can motion out of the backfield and become a tight end and get tight end hot routes, that is something that you might consider as well, because you could then put them on the tight end hot routes and get them to check and release. Another formation, and this is free ball for you guys, you might consider some of those empty sets that have the 2 wings, because now that's going to allow you to quick dot or check and release people. And you know, depending on who they're using, it's going to be real tough to sit in cover 0 all game long and just expect that you're going to get stopped. So this was a patch note that not enough players were talking about. I think it is really, really good. Obviously, this is huge for pretty much any offense in the game that has a tight end. And I hope that you guys liked today's video. If you guys did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, make sure you guys drop those below. And as always, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. We upload Monday through Friday in the mornings. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow morning with our next video upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.